We got lots of pressure points. And you all are facing it in this business that we're operating. Stay standing with me. I'm serious. Stay. It's good. The wages, we've got agency that you got to weed out of your communities. There's food, and this is the one. This is the tough one. This is like in your leg, and you get like a little catch, a hitch, and then it shoots up your spine and knocks out your mic. That's insurance. Like that's the pain that we're going through right now. Hey, I think there is a little relief that may be coming on the insurance side, but we'll talk about that here in a second. Inflation has been tough. You see that gray bar there? That's the pandemic, and we've seen this big run up, and it's leveling out in this 3.5% to 4% range. And I don't know about you all, but I'm like, you're probably saying, "Dang, that people are excited about that? Are you kidding me?" It's inflation on inflation. John had a great chart showing that. The price of everything is just skyrocketed, and we're wrestling hard with how do we deal with rising costs. Wages, this is a little continuing care report from Leading Age, and salaries. Man, like, I need to be a CNA to get that bump in salary. That was from 2023 to just this year, that report tracks, and then they've got salaries in that report. It's a great report. I'd check it out if you haven't. And there you go. This is the shoot up my leg into my back. 26th consecutive quarter of increases.
Stuart, I got it
I'm not. You got a nod. Thank you, Tim. Mr. Bust has got one to work out. Hey, I know we have some friends at Propel Insurance that were just talking about this. There's some capacity coming back into the market right now on insurance to insure Florida. We're starting to see it where premiums might hopefully have the opportunity to come down and settle down, but across the board, it's a pain point, and so many of you all are feeling that. So what's the way to deal with these pressure points, and what's the solution? And some might say, I gotta get maybe another massage to deal with it. That's not gonna solve the problem. It treats the symptom. And so you probably have heard it said a number of times before, is that you can't save your way to prosperity. You have to get at revenue. You have to increase those revenues to pay for these rising costs. So again, I'm Stuart Jackson. I got Melissa Kelly. I got Michael Whitlow. And we're going to talk about how do we get at this revenue. Okay, now you can sit. Hopefully that got some blood flowing. And we're going to touch on this revenue. We have a few case studies, and then we're going to talk about how you can have a great strategy on how to get revenue, but then you got to execute on it. It's got to happen. And so Michael's going to carry us home on how do you make it happen. So we've been doing rate increases, 2%, 3%, 4% a year. Then inflation hit, man, we had to really get after it, right? And the tendency for us is going to be to settle in and say, ooh, like, I want to get back to normal. And we would just encourage you, don't. Stay on the creative approach to keeping increasing revenues at a higher rate than you might have traditionally expected. And so to do that, you got to have a goal. So what are your goals? Here are a bunch of them. And I would say, if you need to increase that occupancy 5%, just that 5% might be the difference between making a margin or not. It might be the difference between actually hitting your debt service coverage ratio, covenant, or not. So have a goal. There's been a lot of talk about turnover entrance fees and our reliance on them. So how do you reduce that reliance on those and still keep after getting them? So you got to be increasing rates on entrance fees. Housing market's been up. So when's the last time you've done that? And then level of care charges. Oh my goodness. Those dreaded charges that we're not charging, but we're probably giving the care away in many cases. So those are just a few examples of goals that you need to set.
Okay, so there are a lot of resident fees that we can look at adding or increasing that will impact our revenues. But before we get into these fees, we want to talk first about driving occupancy. And let's first look at the annual revenue opportunity for one occupied unit. In this example, we have a simple example, an IL monthly fee of $5,000, a second person fee of $1,500, an AL monthly fee of $8,000, and a skilled nursing monthly fee of $10,000. In this example, the annual revenue from just one occupied unit is between $60,000 and $120,000. But let's say our attrition is higher than we planned, and now we find ourselves down 10 occupied units. The annual revenue opportunity on those 10 occupied units is between $600,000 and $1.2 million. Think about the impact of $1.2 million to your net operating margin. And then think about the cumulative effect. If our IL residents are living an estimated life expectancy of 10 years, those 10 occupied units after 10 years could add an additional $10 million to your cash reserves. But what are some of the reasons we don't have occupancy? When attrition is higher than planned, we now find ourselves needing to reoccupy those units. We've also increased fees the same percentage year after year, so now we might have pricing on certain unit styles that doesn't make sense to the market. Our physical plant is older, our units are dated and not move-in ready. The average turn time on an IL unit is 90 days. That's 3 months of lost revenue if you can even sell the unit. And we know that demand has changed. Our studios and one bedrooms are harder to fill. And our teams made extraordinary efforts during the pandemic, but many communities are dealing with fatigue and complacency. Our programs and services are good, but they haven't changed, and they're not keeping up with our customers' desires. For instance, the dining program or our resident services. And our sales team has had success for many years, but they're not driving as hard. They're waiting for the sales to come to them. Our leads have slowed, and our investment in our marketing efforts has also decreased. And let's not forget about new competition and competitive alternatives that are out there.
So Melissa just hit on some of these kind of defensive reasons why we got to get after occupancy and improve. There's some offensive reasons, I would say, and it would be, how do we? What if we want to grow market share? If we've got a great brand reputation, how do we get after serving more? I think the other thing is, how do we differentiate ourselves in the marketplace? And all of that can then help to lead to that improve, reason to improve that occupancy. There can be some short-term or long-term financial objectives that you want to achieve in growing and capturing more revenue. One of the ways that Greystone has, over the years, been working with you all to accomplish this has been through revenue management plans. Another term you probably heard, strategic pricing analysis. 4 components. First, you got to start with the market. You got to understand it well. Then you need to understand your existing campus. What's the program, the pricing, the structure of that. We're going to review and understand both. And then, how is your existing campus aligned to the market? Or is it misaligned with the market? And if it's misaligned, what do I need to change and adjust to bring it back into alignment? And we measure that. One of the tools that's analytical is a penetration calculation, and looking at it across income and on assets. If you're an entry fee-based community, and we'll show an example of this here in a minute, how that can play out. But that leads to pricing recommendations and adjustments that you want to make. And we need to make sure that just because it's matched to the market, how does it perform financially? There needs to be a benefit for why you would make a change and adjustment. And so we'll do some cash flow analysis. You also got to the discipline to work with a firm like Brad Collis's, who spoke to us yesterday, to make sure there's some actuarial balance and you understand the implications of any of those pricing changes.
Okay, so we're going to drill down into some of the plan that Stuart just talked about. So first, we need to challenge our pricing structure in light of our current operating costs and marketing challenges. How has the market moved, and are you still aligned? Does the product match the market? We want the monthly fee and the entrance fee to be in balance so they are both affordable to the same segment of the market. And these pricing changes don't have to fall on the shoulders of your current residents. We can create new pricing tiers for new move-ins. Have you looked at pricing by unit location? We know the first floor, the top floor, and those units closest to dining or the ones with the great views are the most desirable. But what about the units that overlook the dumpster or the parking lot? Do we have room to add premium pricing to those desirable units to offset some price reductions to our less desirable units? If you're selling one entrance fee contract, you might be missing part of the market. We're seeing a more even mix of our highly refundable, 50% refundable, and 0% refundable contracts. If you already have a type A highly refundable contract, let's say 90%, consider reducing the refundability to 80%. Or if you have a high healthcare benefit, consider offering an option that would reduce the future healthcare costs to the community, such as a healthcare line of credit that allows the residents to pay for their future healthcare costs from their future entrance fee refund. Also considering offering choice in your service package with a full service or limited service package that doesn't include housekeeping or maybe fewer meals. And you might consider some targeted promotional strategies. So even after some price reductions, some of those harder to sell units might still need some incentives to move them. Also, let's assess our service levels. What are your residents saying? Are you doing resident surveys and then doing the follow-up? Are you doing team member surveys or hospitality training? We believe hospitality training is the most important training you can do. If your frontline teams are happy, they feel good, and they trust their leaders, they're going to deliver good services and care to your residents. And don't forget your department heads, your leaders, they need training too. So consider leadership development training for your department heads. And we all know the AL resident has more chronic conditions and needs more staff time and more services than ever before. So we do need to review our AL level of care fees. Have they kept up with the chronic conditions and the higher wages you're paying your staff? How often are you assessing and capturing these level of care fees? If it's working, you might have an opportunity to add an additional level of care. If you're not charging level of care fees, you might consider it. We're working with some investor-owned projects where one campus is generating nearly $2,000 per occupied unit per month in level of care fees. And don't forget your sales and marketing teams. And Michael will talk a little bit more about this in a minute.
Great, so we got an example. As we said, we got two little case studies we'll hit on real quick with you guys. This is Forefront Living in Presbyterian Village North, kind of their main campus here in Dallas. And back in 2016 to 2017, Tim and Steve and Scott's here, Barbara's here, their whole team is here. They tapped our shoulder and said, hey, can you help us look at our pricing? We think it might have gotten a little bit out of whack with the market. And so we did. And so this is one of the largest CCRCs here in Dallas. And we were looking at all their independent living units. And you're going to see two boxes that are highlighting what is a 2-bedroom large apartment, 1,430 square feet. And you can see a monthly fee of about $5,200 a month, generating a required annual income of over $100,000. And you can see the number of income qualified seniors in their primary market for that particular unit is just under 2,000 households. Then flip on the other side, the right side, you're going to see that same 1,430 square foot unit carrying a $232,000 entrance fee. And look at the number of home value qualified households. Almost 6,000. Well, guess what the market is for that same unit? 2,000. Because you got to pay the monthly fee and the entrance fee. So it was telling us, man, some stuff's out of whack. We've got to rebalance things. They thought when we started this, our monthly fees are high. Maybe they're too high. And so we went through a process to rebalance them. And these average fees, not that specific unit I was looking at, you can see the before, the average, for all the ILUs, 4,200, 205,000, we recommended to reduce the monthly fee $700 on average and increase the entrance fee almost $150,000. And you all may be saying, well, dang, that doesn't sound like it's going to work out very well. But it did. We also had some choice, different contracts, building on what Melissa was just talking about, and we built those into the program. Again, this is back in 2017, so where did we come out? So here, this is after, when we put the proposed pricing on the board, and you can see, same 1,430 square foot unit, monthly fee went down, and number of households went up, almost to 3,000 households in the market. And then we raised that entrance fee, I forget, 230, it went up to 440,000. Look at the number of households. We still have 3,500 households that could afford it. We're a little more balanced now. Broader market for the same unit style, and we're capturing more entrance fee. Then we did some cash flow analysis to say, dang, is that entrance fee increase enough to pay for the monthly fee decrease? And the answer was yes. We were getting about another $1 million annually to the bottom line. Granted, it was coming more through turnover entrance fees than it was through those monthly fees, but we were broadening the market. And we had more folks that were willing to say yes to move in. They went from 85% occupancy right now today, and Dustin's here, we're what, 97% sold and occupied. Now granted, it was a long time, but they also added an expansion of about 130 to 120 units in that time frame as well, filled those, and we're now on number 3, strategic pricing analysis. We did another one when the expansion came on, and now we're time to do another one. So about every 2 to 3 years.
Okay, so if you've been to the Greystone event before, you've likely heard about Edgewood Summit, and they've also been mentioned a couple of times already the last couple of days. But as a reminder, Edgewood Summit is located in Charleston, West Virginia. They opened in 1995, so they're nearing 30 years old. They have a mix of IL, AO, memory, and skilled, and they were a pioneer in the market as the first CCRC in West Virginia. Prior to the pandemic, they began working at a measured pace to make various upgrades to their resident-facing areas, especially their IL corridors, lobby, and dining venues. They took a short pause during the pandemic, but then were able to take advantage of the empty dining in order to continue construction. Edgewood Summit owned the market for a long time, and then a for-profit entered the market. So with the impact of the pandemic, attrition, and new competition, they saw a decline in occupancy. So if you follow the purple line, this is average occupancy by year since fiscal year ending June 2019. The green line is net operating margin. Average occupancy declined to 74% in fiscal year 2021, which had a significant impact on performance. Their pre-pandemic net operating margin of 13% decreased to 3% in 2021, and and then negative 4% in 2022. This lag in the net operating margin is due to inflation kicking in 2022. So while occupancy was rebuilding, we were still experiencing higher operating costs. They've since worked their way back up to 85% occupancy, and we're budgeting 88% occupancy next year, and we expect them to get above 90 in future years. So how has Edgewood Summit done it? How have they evolved to rebuild their occupancy? They know that their IL is a feeder for their higher levels of care, especially their 20 sheltered skilled nursing beds. So they prioritized independent living occupancy. They worked hard to reduce the number of vacant units by making pricing adjustments to specific unit styles and locations. Their 2-bedroom was in very high demand, but with the opening of the new provider, their 1-bedroom apartment was no longer competitive and required a fundamental shift in pricing. So they made permanent pricing adjustments to their two smallest 1-bedroom units. The 1-bedroom traditional had a 15% price reduction, and their 1-bedroom deluxe had an 11% price reduction. Additionally, they had targeted promotional incentives, including a $500 per month monthly service fee discount on these 2 units. And they did entrance fee spot reductions up to 40% based on length of time on market. Edgewood Summit has also been very fortunate in having the cash reserves and the capital structure to invest in their community. They continually invest in about as much in CapEx as they pay in debt service. They've upgraded some of the aisle finishes, and they even reconfigured a small 2-bedroom that wasn't resonating in the market to a 1-bedroom den, and it sold out immediately. The team is focused on quality services and care. They continually do annual resident and team member surveys, and they do the follow-up. They've revamped their dining program and their dining menus, and they have done leadership development training with their department heads, and they're committed to annual first impressions training with their team members. They also have a quality improvement committee that meets monthly to focus on quality indicators and the higher levels of care. They also had an opportunity to rebuild their sales team due to turnover, and that sales team is now cohesive, energized, and productive, which has been necessary due to the level of attrition that they've had. They also changed marketing agencies to one that is strong in data analytics, since so many of their leads were being driven by digital efforts. So as you've heard, it wasn't one single thing, but a multitude of things that Edgewood Summit has done to rebuild their occupancy. Their story is still being continued, but if history repeats itself, you'll likely hear about them again at the Greystone event next year. So Stuart and I have just outlined the what and the how you make changes and adjustments to give you the potential to achieve higher revenue. But potential turns to reality only because marketing is executing. So Michael's going to walk us through some of those strategies.
All right, we're going to talk about really 5 strategies for sales and marketing strategies for high-performing communities. And we can have the best revenue management plan, but if our sales and marketing is not aligned and firing on all cylinders, it can do a lot of damage. Number 1, we've got to consistently track our return on investment on our marketing initiatives. You can see some big numbers up there. $737 for the cost of 1 lead, over $2 million that gets put in all the data and the leads and the investment in our CRMs that our sales team are working. So it's a very high investment. Each market is going to respond different to different tactics. I know some markets, print advertising still works very well. Others, in-person events work really well. And we definitely operate on a holistic view of marketing. We have to be in all these different areas working. But in order to really manage the effectiveness of any one tactic, we have to have a process that allows us to track these things. The CRM is the place we start, right? This is what the Sherpas, the Aligns, matrix care. This is where your sales team's entering this data in, and those leads are coming in there. So we have to make sure we're utilizing that. And there's three big benefits to really making sure that you're tracking these initiatives. Number one, you're going to have better segmentation and profiling of your customers. We know, and we've talked a lot about the customers that we're looking for, whether it's demographics and financial information, what's going to attract them. We talk a lot about wellness. So when we have an initiative, marketing initiative out there, we want to see, are we getting the people that we want to get, right? So we're going to know who we're looking for. Second is, we're going to be able to make decisions based on data, right? Not analytical anecdotes, right? We want actual hard data. Data trumps emotion every time when you're operating a business. And so if we don't have that hard data, it's really hard to make quick pivots with our marketing initiatives to make sure we're getting the most out of each of those. And the third thing is we learn what works, right? That's where the magic's at. Where it works, when it works, and how it works. We're going to understand whether it's a direct mail piece, whether it's a pop-up ad on your website, maybe it's Facebook or social media advertising. We need to know which one of those are working, what kind of outcomes are we getting, so that we can make those adjustments quickly and not waste any money on non-beneficial marketing tactics. The second thing that the high-performing communities right now are focusing on and will be focusing on more in the future is optimizing your website to drive leads and brand identity. Roughly 50% of IL leads come through your website. About 70% of your AL memory support leads are coming through your website. And your website is really your community's first impression for a lot of people. So what are they getting from that? There was a survey that was done this last year, and we found out about this survey when we attended our gym. There was over 435,000 customers
that are looking at independent living, assisted living, and memory support. And they said, when asked, what is the most useful source of information when you're looking for senior living? And do you know what that was? Third-party review sites. Google, senior living review sites. At the bottom was our website. So we need to build trust. So what is that? What are they looking for? What is it, the magic button? Why are they not going to our site? Well, they answered that question. They dove into that. Number one is, and you've heard this word today, wellness and safety information. That's number one. Number two, they're looking for reviews from residents and family members. Those are huge, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a second. And then third, being open and transparent with information about the community. If we're not giving them information about our community, whether it be pricing, amenities, square footage, somebody else is. We want to give them that information and control the narrative. So what do we need to do? Well, there's a few things we can do, and with the help of our agencies that we work with in our communities, we need to make sure that we have search engine optimization. SEO, a lot of people have heard SEO. Basically what it does is it helps bring our website up in the rankings. Has anybody ever heard this before? Where's the best place to hide a dead body? Second page of Google. Right? If your community is on the second page of Google, nobody's looking for you, right? You're gone. So we really got to boost that up. We got to work with our agencies to make sure that our websites are constructed in a way that has all the parts that are firing on all cylinders. Kind of like buying a car. I got a 2014 F-150 with 186,000 miles, and it's Kodiak brown. It's in the parking lot right now. It's parked next to a much better looking truck, probably just in splinters. And I'm telling you right now, my truck can't do what his truck can do. Why? It's 10 years old. Okay? So if your website's old and you haven't looked at it, I would encourage you to go back and look at it. And look at it from the perspective of three different angles. One is current residents, prospects, and their family members. Are we building trust? Are we talking about wellness? Are we giving them information to make a smart decision? Right? That's what we've got to do.
And look at it from the standpoint of employees, new employees. Hiring is very difficult. Does your website really talk to future employees? Your future employees, before applying to your website, they're looking around. They're taking a look at it. How are we talking to them? And finally, how are you talking to your shareholders, your partners, your board members? Okay, are we speaking to them on the website? Your website drives your brand identity. It lives on that website. Everything about your community lives on that website. It's got to be mobile friendly. It's got to have sharp images. We got to have great videos. And we got to talk about all these great things that we've been talking about the past 2 days. The wellness, the customization. We're talking about concierge in this previous, talking from an architecture standpoint in these communities that are talking about customizing your choice. Third, this is the third thing that I want to focus on here, is implement a strategic plan to develop your online presence. Who here uses Yelp? All right, well, I wanted more, but it's okay. I use it all the time. Do you guys know, by any chance, throw a number out, not you, Jim, what is the score out of 5 that gives people the most confidence about your rating? What would it be? 1 to 5, what would it be?
4.2.
4.2. I heard it. Nice. Yeah, 4.2. Why not 5?
Not real.
Right, not real. Faith. You're elevating your, and so we want to make sure that we're managing this to take advantage of it. That's US survey that I mentioned. They said that the #1 place, the best source of information, over 435,000 customers looking at assisted living, memory support, and skilled nursing, say that that's the best place to go to get information about your community. So what does that mean? We got a great opportunity here to take advantage of this. We got to make it easy to make reviews. We got to make it easy to share reviews. We have to have a process in place to monitor those reviews. And additionally, managing negative reviews is definitely a challenge sometimes. But we have to have a plan in place to do it. We need to do it quickly, because a bad review can really hurt you. It can really hurt you. But if you have a good response to that bad review, it can make all the difference in the world to those who are looking to come to our community. So make sure that you have a plan in place to strategically develop your online reputation. #4, investing in sales training yields significant ROI. I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to give you proof. One is, sales training is very critical. We find that about 70% of salespeople in the senior living industry do not have formal sales training. Continuous and customized sales training is an absolute necessity for your sales teams and your staff. It's not just the sales teams. We talked about training with the leadership team. Melissa mentioned that. Andrew mentioned the new technologies and making sure that the concierge and the front desk and the night shift all know how to utilize these things, because we can lose and make a bad impression, and we can lose out on that one sale that, as Melissa just went over, annually could drive $100,000 a year. That's a lot of money. We don't want to miss out on that. So on the screen behind me, this is a picture of John Splinter speaking at Sales Adventure. Sales Adventure is a premier senior living I believe the best in the country for senior living sales and marketing. It's a time to inspire. We bring in experts in the field, and we have opportunities to learn from them. We have peer on peer. We have a lot of presentations from the stage. We have breakouts. We have opportunities to socialize and learn from different things. And it's a fantastic, and at the end is my favorite part, right? It's all the excitement, because we give out awards for those who are high achievers. Those who make the mark up here, that are fighting every day, that are doing the things that we want them to do. And salespeople need that. Or we all need that, right? Secondly, Greystone offers sales school, which is a 3-day in-class, more of a, from beginning to end, best practices by the regionals here at Greystone. When we get in this room, and we did not too long ago, and we'll do it again soon, we have over 250 years of senior living sales and marketing experience in that room. That's a lot. And there's some great speakers, and you've heard some of them today, and I'm telling you there's a bunch more. There's a great amount of talent. So what does that mean? Is there a yield? What's the yield? Well, we went back and looked. We ran the data, we did an analysis this past year, and we found that there was a 45% increase in sales-related activities for the individual teams that came to Sales Adventure versus the teams that did not. Who wants 45% more sales activity? Yeah. So it is very vital and important. My last point, and the fifth thing that highly successful communities are doing right now, is making sure we're strategically aligning our sales compensation with our revenue goals. So sales team structures kind of become a bit of habit, but if we do normal things, we get normal results. And I'm not saying that we're like, let's pay them more. Let's pay more commissions for the same performance. No, I want to pay them more, but I want to pay them more for high achieving, for helping us achieve the revenue goals, the covenants, and the strategic goals and financial ratios that we need to achieve. So how do we do that? Well, look at changing your commission plans quarterly, more frequent, tying them to things like covenant goals. Melissa was talking about the 2 bedrooms, right? I tell you what, we can't build enough 2 bedrooms sometimes, right? There's a waiting list. Maybe we reduce the commission on the 2 bedrooms. And we raise the commission on the harder to sell 1-bedroom units or just the ones that maybe aren't as attractive to others. It works. The other thing we could do is try to utilize it in a time of seasonality. For instance, going into the summer is really kind of tough in some markets for assisted living and memory support because all the adult children are going on vacations and they're in activities. Right? Maybe that's a good time to set a goal, look back at strategic actuals. Last March, you guys got this many. We're going to go here. Right? We want to push them. So what is that going to do for your sales teams? Well, one, some people might not fit. Your favorite sales counselor might not like this idea. You're going to have pushback. If you have a sales counselor or a team member that their salary's really pretty high and they're pretty comfortable, they aren't really pushing to get those incentives, they're not going to be the ones that are going to thrive. But I promise you, for those who are coming in to this new era of commissions, they will be rewarded. You'll hopefully get higher talent, but you will lose some. But if we do normal things, we'll get normal results. We talked about discomfort and putting yourself in an uncomfortable position. Ray, Derek, Justin, they put me in the cold bath yesterday. And I don't do that. I was scared to do it. Last year I got into my waist, and the only reason I could do it is because Ray was helping me out. Justin was helping me out. They were encouraging me to do this, and through them I actually went in twice, under the water in my hand. And if you haven't done it, go do it before you leave. Just do it, and you won't regret it. But we have to have people that have been there before, people that understand the benefits, and people that understand how to coach somebody to get there. And so that's exactly what they did to me, and thank you. So I appreciate it. I feel better today. All right, so what's in it for you? What's in it for you from a strategical compensation? One is higher revenue and higher occupancy. The other thing you're going to see over time is you're going to have elevated quality of candidates that you're going to be sifting through. This is going to take time. It's not overnight success. All right? And lastly, let's think about this. What if we can capture that 45% extra with your sales teams, right? We're giving them the training. Our website's firing on all cylinders. We're on the third-party review sites. We're tying our commissions and we're using them as a strategy to give our sales teams that extra push to get us over the milestone. And that's why it's important. And if you do all those things right, there might be some times when really things are inflated that maybe year over year we can pull back some of our digital spend or advertising spend because our salespeople are just more effective. That's the goal.
Man, thank you, Michael. I'm pumped and I'm ready, and we're pumped and ready to kind of round this out. Can't save your way to prosperity. You've got to be on top line revenue. So stay on it. You got to do it frequently. Don't get off. Once you're on that treadmill, don't get off the treadmill. And take a breather. Stay on it. Be challenging in various parts. Implement one piece. Get in 1 year, go the next year, implement another piece. Then reassess. That's the name of the game. And we got to get out of Mary Jane Fitz's way, Michael's way, Mindy's way, Trisha's way. All of marketing, we got to let them go. Have a strategy, empower them, and they will deliver. So thank you all. Thank you all for listening. Don't leave.